Hey, good evening and welcome to Balls and Sticks, the podcast. This is Rich. Mike will not be joining me on air today as he is making his way down to Kansas City, Kansas, to go to the Hollywood Casino 400 and also the Xfinity race at the Kansas Motor Speedway this week. So much like all the episodes that I do as solo, it's going to be an unplugged episode as all the sound effects and the soundboards are located where Mike's at up in northwest Iowa. So we'll just go ahead and jump right into the show. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. So as we do every week with our show, we start with our poll question. So this week's, with it being jock jams or stadium songs, we were voting on "We Will Rock You" by Queen and "Welcome to the Jungle" by Guns N' Roses. So this week's poll, we had 9 total votes. "We Will Rock You" got 4. "Welcome to the Jungle" got 5. So "Welcome to the Jungle" will be moving on to our finals. So the show shout outs for getting in the votes go out to Daniel Hart, Mikey, Ashley Couture, and Jordan Stroop for "We Will Rock You." And "Welcome to the Jungle," our winner. Joining myself was my dad, Mark Hendricks, Jenna Stroop, Michael Allmuller, and Nathan Ross. Now, I went with "Welcome to the Jungle" over "We Will Rock You" because when I think of like a Jock Jam stadium song, I voted for "Welcome to the Jungle" because I think of a song that's used when a team is taking the field. And "Welcome to the Jungle" is a common song used by teams like the LSU Tigers, the Cincinnati Bengals, just the name of two, just the name of two teams that I know of off the top of my head that use that song. But also, as much as Michael probably roasts me for saying this one, I gotta sometimes be in the mood to hear Queen. And while I don't mind "We Will Rock You," whenever it's being played on the radio, the song that comes right after it, without fail, is "We Are the Champions." And that's just, and so every time I hear "We Will Rock You," don't mind it, but then it gets into "We Are the Champions," um, which isn't always one of my favorite songs. So just a personal preference. So um, this week's poll will be "Sweet Caroline" going up against "Whoop." There it is. I'll make sure to get that poll up after I get done recording this week's episode. And you can find that poll question over on Fans of Balls and Sticks and the Balls and Sticks fan page, which if you're watching our video right now, that's where you'll be able to find the poll. All right, so moving right along in the show, we're going to go into the Chicago Cubs. So last week, the Cubbies had two against the Cincinnati Reds in Cincinnati, and then came home to face the Giants for 3 games and the Diamondbacks for 2 games. I said they would win 4 games. Mike said they would win five, and the Cubbies went 4-3 from show to show. Those wins included splitting their series with the Reds in Cincinnati, sweeping the Giants in a rather convincing fashion. Really, those 3 wins against the Giants really surprised me. I was only expecting them to take 2 out of 3 with the Giants, but all good things must come to an end. And this week, the Thursday Friday games to wrap up the week from show to show saw them get swept by the Diamondbacks. Um, but sometime, I mean, I was hoping that they would at least split those 2 games with the Diamondbacks. But when you're playing good teams, you're going to you're going to have those losses. So looking at the standings on where the Cubs are in the with the wild card and the division, with their loss to the Diamondbacks this afternoon, they are currently 2.5 games back in the division, trailing the Brewers. And with the wild card, they have the second wild card they are 2 games back of the Phillies on being able to host a first round matchup, and they are ahead of by 2 games to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Just below the cut line for the wild card for that third slot is the Miami Marlins at a half a game, the Cincinnati Reds at a game and a half, and the San Francisco Giants at 3 games. So if the playoffs started tonight or tomorrow for that matter, the the Cubbies would be going to Philadelphia to take on the Phillies. All right, so this week from show to show, they will just have 2 games against the Diamondbacks before going out to Denver, Colorado to take on the Rockies. They also have a game on Friday night at 8:40 out in the desert in Phoenix, taking on the Diamondbacks, but we are not going to be including that in our show to show prediction numbers because we may record on Friday night while that game is going on. So, so even though Mike is not on air with me, I did get a chance to talk with him this evening to do some show prep with him, and he said that they would win 3 games. He did not go into specifics as far as how many games, where they were going to get the wins, but I'm going to give you mine, which is 4 games. I think that they can take the last 2 games with the Diamondbacks in Chicago, as they'll have Justin Steele going on Saturday and Kyle Hendricks on Sunday going up against a guy I've never heard of, but he has a 1-8 record for Arizona. So I think with our top 2 pitchers going right now, I think they can take those 2 games against the Diamondbacks. And going out to Denver, Denver is always a wild card. You never know what's going to happen, largely because the ball can fly out in Denver. And even though the Cubs aren't scoring a lot of runs right now, I think that the thin air in Denver can help them out. And I think that they can go in and take 2 out of 3 in Colorado. Um, Basically, because the Rockies are just struggling through the season this year, like they have been for the past couple of years. Um, so I think that even with the way the rotational lineup, they should have Jordan Wicks, and it'll probably be Wicks, Assad, and Jameson Taillon pitching those games. So I think with those 3 on the bump, that they could easily get, they should be able to get 2 out of 3, which gives them their 4 wins. So that's all that I can think of to talk about with in regards to Major League Baseball. And so we're going to go into the NASCAR Corner. The NASCAR Corner is presented by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. Check them out on Fifth Avenue in Moline, Illinois, or you can find them on eBay. Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. So last week we were in Darlington for the Cookout Southern 500. Your race winner was Kyle Larson, and on the playoff side, Mike's pick of Ryan Blaney came in ninth, and my pick of William Byron came in fourth. On the non-playoff side, my pick of Eric Jones came in 10th. Mike's pick of Chase Elliott came in 8th. So we split the points because the way that we do the playoffs is we pick a playoff driver and a non-playoff driver, and we get points accordingly. And of course, we always have the bonus point for if we pick the race winner. So that makes it in the playoffs 1-1, and over the overall season, it is 19-14 in favor of myself. I didn't really get a chance to watch the Cookout 500 because we were hanging out up in Northwest Iowa with Mikey and them, with Mike, and really there was an interesting thing that happened with the in the races in the closing laps. I think it was about 20 laps to go. The lights turned off in the I think it was around turn number 4. So they had to red flag the race while they got the lights back on. So it was kind of fun seeing pictures from Facebook with fans on the infield turning on their lights, or fans holding up their camera phones to get lights to help maybe get, as a joke, get lights onto the track so they could resume. But the other thing that came out of that race was a late race caution, which cost Kevin Harvick the race. I think at the time that he made a green flag pit stop, he was in like fourth place, and a crash came out, caution came out. He was already committed to making a green flag pit stop to where, and pit road was closed. However, he chose to still go in and get serviced, and with that late race penalty, was not able to recover and believe that he finished outside of the top 10. With the results of so before we move on to talking about the race in Kansas, let's go ahead and take a look at how our fantasy NASCAR did, as we had three entries. In addition to Mike and I, we had Dupo 24, our buddy Solomon. So Solomon came in third with 160, Mikey came in second with 207, and I came in first with 234. And over on the NASCAR playoff side, with Kyle Larson clinching his spot in the into the next round with his race win. The cut line is currently, if the if the standings hold up, the four drivers not making the next round of the playoffs would be Bubba Wallace, Kevin Harvick, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Michael McDowell. Stenhouse and McDowell don't surprise me as two drivers that are below the cut line, but Kevin Harvick is, and Bubba Wallace is kind of, for me, kind of is also kind of a surprise that he's um, below the cut line. But everybody has a chance to get that win in Kansas. So speaking of Kansas, this week it'll be the Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas. And for me, if you're setting up your fantasy NASCAR lineup, go heavy on the Toyotas. The Toyotas just have done really well at this track. When my wife and I were at the spring race, it was Denny Hamlin coming from behind for a last lap pass to get the win. Last year's fall race, Bubba Wallace in the number 45, and the spring race last year was also a Toyota, and it was Kurt Busch in the 45. So go heavy on your Toyotas, and I think if and if this is probably Bubba Wallace's best chance to get a win, but neither Mike and I are going with him. I'm going to go with Martin Truex Jr. as my Toyota of choice. Um, Out of the Toyota drivers, Martin Truex is probably my favorite driver out of them. And for the non-playoff driver, I'm going to go with Daniel Suarez at the advice of my wife. Both of us are Trackhouse Racing fans, and so we're going to go with Suarez. Mike told me that he wanted his picks to be Denny Hamlin, his favorite driver, in driving for Joe Gibbs, as well as my driver of Truex. And on the non-playoff side, he's going to go with Alex Bowman, who is the favorite driver of Solomon, the buddy that he is going to be watching the race with on Saturday, Sunday actually. Sorry. So it'll be Martin Truex, Daniel Suarez, for myself, Mike taking Denny Hamlin and Alex Bowman. Um, as far as with Mike's side, I like the pick of Alex Bowman. He's got good momentum going into Kansas. He's got a good track history there as well. And like I said, Denny won the spring race there, and he drives a Toyota, and the Toyotas do fairly well at Kansas. So that was the NASCAR Corner presented by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois, on Fifth Avenue, or you can find them on eBay. Going from the asphalt over to the gridiron, we're going to go with our NFL coverage. As a programming note, because Mike was not able to join me this week, we will be giving you our conference championships matchups and our Super Bowl matchup and winner next week when we are both available to do the show. But we will continue on with NFL coverage as we got to talk Thursday night football. That was a close game. As soon as the word came out that Travis Kelce was going to be out, and on top of them not having Chris Jones, their all pro defensive lineman, I was figuring that this was going to be a close game, but I thought that the Chiefs would still come out on top. However, it was 21 to 20 Detroit Lions. So we both are 0 for 1 in our Thursday night football picks, and we do have an NFL pick'em weekly challenge, and I gotta give a shout out to the one person who picked the Detroit Lions on Thursday night, and that was Troy. So Troy, whoever you are in our group, congratulations, you have a 1-0 lead. Everybody else, Mike, Zach Borchers, myself, Fields of Dreams, Captain Rory, Mr. Nichols, and CS Picks all went with the Chiefs and are down a point going into the weekend. So while it didn't surprise, I thought the Lions had a better chance of winning this game with both Jones and Kelsey out. I still didn't think they would win the game, but as I watched that game, that Chiefs offense just looked lost out there, as so many of their receivers were just dropping the ball, especially Kadarius Toney, the guy that I think the Chiefs thought could be the person replace that could replace Tyreek Hill. Guy couldn't hold on to the ball to save his life, and also there were some mistakes on route running and Patrick Mahomes not underthrowing or overthrowing balls. But I'm thinking the Chiefs can get it all figured out and sorted out as they get more time, the practice together, and also maybe adjust to not having Travis Kelce on the field. Although, from what I have read, he should be back next week. All right, so looking into the NFL Week 1 for our weekly NFL coverage, Mike and I will give you, in our opinion, a lock of the week, which is almost like a guaranteed victory for the teams we pick. We'll give you an upset special, and an upset special is we go off of the pick distribution that is listed on our Yahoo Fantasy Pick'em, and we give you the results of the Bears game that week, and then we go to Thursday night football of the next week, since that happens between show to show. So this week, our locks of the week. Mike said he wanted to take the Bengals over the Browns. Not a bad pick in my opinion. The Bengals look good. However, I think it's always tough to pick a divisional rivalry game for a lock of the week. And I'm almost tempted to actually pick the Browns over the Bengals in this matchup just because I the Joe Burrow's been out for most of the preseason and training camp with his non-contact injury that happened really early in the training camp, and I think the Browns should be better with a full off-season training camp with Deshaun Watson under center instead of it being Jacoby Brissett. However, I know the other reason that Mike picked against the Browns is because he just hates Deshaun Watson for all the off-field transgressions that he went through that got him suspended for an entire year, for almost like a year and a half, if you include uh, what the Texans did by having him by him holding out while he was waiting to get traded out of Houston. On my lock of the week, I'm going with the Seahawks over the Rams. Yes, I am picking a divisional game for a lock of the week, which is typically something try to shy away from. However, the Rams are without their best player, which is Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is their offense. They don't have a good number two wide receiver, and their running game is kind of suspect. Um, Cam Akers can have good games, but he can also get lost in the shuffle. And they really don't have a good complement running back if Akers isn't running the ball effectively. Other thing the Rams have going against him is a bad offensive line. And when you have a bad offensive line, your veteran quarterback that is a pocket passer with no scrambling ability is going to suffer and is going to have a long day. Um, so I'm going with the Seahawks for the lock of the week for those reasons. Also, Seattle looks good. They're going to be breaking in um, Jackson Smith Nagatu as a third wide receiver, and they still got a good running game behind Kenneth Walker and Zach Carbonet. So Seahawks over the Rams. For upset specials, Mike went with the Titans over the Saints. That game will be in New Orleans. Um, Also, not another bad pick. The Saints are a the Titans are a veteran team with Tannehill, DeAndre Hopkins, and Derrick Henry. All those guys are healthy since it's week one, so not a bad pick. However, the Saints do play good defense and they play really well at home. So I'm actually picking the Saints in that matchup, but I did not choose that as my upset of the week. As my upset of the week, I'm going to go with the Monday night football game of the New York Jets over the Buffalo Bills. So for that one, I just think that Aaron Rodgers is going to come out and prove that last year's down year with the Packers was a fluke and that he can still be a bona fide above average, if not Pro Bowl level quarterback. And even if he's just above average, that's all the Jets need with their defense being as good as it is. So they're gonna have Sauce Gardner covering the Bills' best receiver in Stephon Diggs, and so that's why I'm gonna go with the Jets. I think between the defense and Aaron Rodgers having something to prove, I think the Jets can get that victory for my upset special. Moving on to the Bears, they will be playing the Packers in Chicago, and both Mike and I are sticking with our preseason pick for the Bears in going with the Bears. For this matchup, nobody really knows what type of offense Green Bay is going to operate with Jordan Love under center instead of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, there's still a lot of talk out there with well, what exactly does a Matt LaFleur offense look like? Because so much of the time, they Aaron Rodgers would audible at the line and change the play that was called. So are we going to see a team that still operates with play action passing, or will they try to more lean heavily on their running game of Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon? On the Bears side, it's time to see in real regular season action what that revamped offensive line with Nate Jones and Darnell Wright looks like, as well as what how much of an impact DJ Moore is going to have with being a number one receiver in Chicago as he came over in Carolina for that pick for the number one overall pick to give Justin Fields a true number one receiver. And it'll also be interesting to see what their if the if how that running back rotation is going to work too with Khalil Herbert, um, Rashawn Johnson, and Devonta Freeman. But the one thing that the Packers could have going for them is I still don't know what the pass rush is going to look like for the Bears. They brought in Yannick Ngakoue from the Saints. The Saints and the Ravens. He split. Yeah, he came over from the Ravens last year. So, but he was a late addition to camp, so it'll be interesting to see what that pass rush looks like. And finally, Thursday night football, week two, we'll see the Minnesota Vikings going to Philly to take on the Eagles. Mike said he was going to go with the Vikings. He is expecting the Eagles to still kind of be suffering from a Super Bowl hangover and going up against a team in the Vikings who look to be, should be the division champs in the North and a team that just barely um, squeaked into the playoffs, getting the victory. Myself, I'm going to go with the Eagles. I still think that they're the team to beat in the NFC. And quite frankly, I just don't think that the secondary of the Eagles, the Vikings secondary, can keep up with that high flying passing it with the high flying abilities of Devonta Smith and AJ Brown of the Eagles. So I think the Eagles will get that victory, but it'll be another close game. So you can catch the Bears and Packers game on Fox, as that is the Fox game of the week for us here in the Midwest. And the Vikings Eagles game is the first game on Amazon Prime for Thursday Night Football. So looking at the next week, as I said, we'll have our preseason conference championship matchup and our preseason Super Bowl picks. And we'll also have power rankings where we'll give you our top 10, our bottom five, and where we put the Chicago Bears based off of the results of week number one. All right, so moving on to quick hits. If you are a fan of The Masked Singer, we will have Masked Singer to talk about next week as they're having a season 10 premiere episode on this Sunday after the Bears Packers game. And a leftover from last week is Banana Ball. Last 2 weeks ago, my wife and I and my parents went up to Des Moines to see the Savannah Bananas and the Savannah Party Animals go on a game of Banana Ball. If you've never heard of Banana Ball before, check them out on their YouTube channel where you can watch their free broadcast of their games. Just search on YouTube for Savannah Bananas. A quick rundown of some of their unique game rules. You can steal first base at any time, like if there's a pass ball or a wild pitch. There are no walks, as a walk is if you draw a walk in Banana Ball, it turns into a sprint where you can advance to as many bases as you want, but as the ball does not become live until all nine players on the field have touched the ball. There is no bunting. If you bunt, you're automatically called out and you're actually tossed out of the game. There is no extra innings, as if it's tied after 9 innings, it goes into an elimination showdown. Um, which includes a pitcher versus batter with no fielders out. And if the ball is put into play, the runner is tasked with getting home at all costs. Then a second round is a pitcher versus fielder. And then a third round, if they're still tied, is bases loaded with pitcher versus a fielder. A pitcher and a fielder on the field going up against the batter to make sure to get as many runs across on the board as they can with bases loaded. Um, Trying to remember all the names, all the rules there. There's no mound visits, and the most important rule of it comes out of it is a 2 hour time limit. So there's no, so at the end of 2 hours, if the game is tied, they go into that extra inning rule. If the other team is ahead, that's the end of the game. And And the other big rule is that every inning counts. So you are competing to get points for for winning a half inning. So if the visiting team scores 1 run, As the home team, you are looking to just get push across 2 runs on the board to win the inning. If you tie the visiting team, nobody gets a point. If the visiting team holds the home team to 0 runs in that situation of only being up 1-0, they get the point, and you are going and you're looking at it as each 9 inning is its own mini game per se. So being with the our banana ball experience, we got to see a lot of firsts as we saw the first complete game pitched in banana ball history, which was done by the Party Animals, the team I root for. We saw the fastest inning pitched, which was 56 seconds. The most fan outs recorded in a game, which is three. That's a rule I forgot about. If a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out. That happened 3 times at the game we were at. And we also got free Dunkin' Donuts. And we got free Dunkin' Donuts because the Dunkin' Donuts player of the night struck out. So every time that player came up, you had the PA announcer or the DJ encouraging everybody to yell, Donut, Donut, Donut throughout this guy's entire at bat. Great way to get the fans involved and also just to keep fans engaged in the game. Personally, it reminded me a lot of going to Quad City River Bandit games when I was younger. And their promotion was that if the Bandits struck out 10 batters in the game, everybody got free ice cream cone at Dairy Queen the next day. So I always remember going to those games. Brought back a good memory with my dad of going to games, and whenever the count got down to 0 and 2, got down to 2 stripes, we were always starting to chant DQK, DQK. So that was kind of cool, fun memory. It even reminded my dad about it too, and he remembered it, which was awesome. So the pros of the game that I really liked about it was the game flow was great. You really didn't have, yes, they did do some there were some questionable plays where you were starting to think, all right, I know it's not rigged, but that play is an easy out, and that should have been recorded as an out, but it wasn't. But it wasn't. I mean, the two that come to mind was a routine ground out to the shortstop. He hurried his throw unnecessarily and threw the ball over the first baseman's head, which resulted in the base runner getting second base. And the other play that came to mind was the left fielder for the Party Animals taking a really strange route to the ball on a fly ball to left field, which caused him to miss the ball. But even all that, it didn't really think that the on-field like antics didn't take away from the game. If you watch a Savannah Bananas game, they have they'll have like their third base coach or one of their base coaches just starts out and break dances in the middle of the game. Didn't take away from the game. Or a choreographed dance routine between like the pitcher and like two or three of the fielders. Didn't take away from the game, but but it really made fan engagement really good. And I think the pro that I got out of it was all the music that kept the fans in the game. There was music playing from when we entered the game, even when we were in line to get into the gates to the last pitch in the ninth inning. There was always a song playing over the loudspeakers. They did not stop just because the pitcher was just about to throw the ball. There was always some sort of music or chant or something going on. So I didn't think it took away from the game. And I also didn't think that it also kept up with fan engagement. And with a banana ball game, the experience in it being an entertainment just as much as a sporting event is what made it there. For the cons, most of this, for a con, I would say that I was kind of disappointed that the team I was rooting for and went to go see play, the Party Animals, they weren't involved much in the pregame meet and greet. One of the things that I wasn't expecting was that while we were waiting to get in, they to the because it's a general admission seating, so you got to get there early and get in line so you can go through the gates and get the best seats that you so you can pick your seat location from what's available. And so we're standing in line, and we hear someone in the back yell, "All right, make way, band and players coming through." Sure enough, a pep band of like 5 or 6 people started coming through playing a song, and right behind them was the owner, the mascot, and all the players coming through, giving high fives and welcoming people to the game and thanking them for coming out. The party animals weren't there. And even once we got into the stadium, most of them weren't really interacting with the fans that much either. So that was kind of disappointing. And the other one came off of the stadium, but I think the team of the production staff of the Savannah Bananas has a play in this too, which was they didn't utilize the video boards that the stadium had up in Des Moines. They had a ribbon board there with that they and that caused not using a video board really caused it really with where we were sitting behind the Party Animals bullpen, it made it hard to see a scoreboard because the only scoreboard was like in straightaway center and it was a very small part of the wall, which just displayed the innings, the runs and the innings, and then also the outs and the strikes. So that made it kind of hard to see if they had utilized the big video board or the ribbon board to function as a scoreboard, that would have been a lot better from a game experience and being making it easier to follow the games. But instead, they chose that during the games, it was just a kind of like a wallpaper logo of bananas, the bananas logo versus, and then the other side of the board being the party animals logo. But they did utilize the board to put their between innings entertainment on the big board so everybody in the stadium could see what was going on. And I was also disappointed that the party animals only had one merchandise stand. Come on, you got to have more than one. But yeah, but overall, I would go to another banana ball game again. And we might sign up for a membership club with the team, which does get you some perks for game day experiences and getting for like pre-sales and a different a special line, special entrance to the gates. So you get in at a shorter line at the game day instead of being grouped in with all the other general admission tickets, and also the ability to purchase um, more tickets than a person that wins the ticket lottery can. Um, but being all throughout that, there were simple things that any minor league baseball team could do just like the Bananas do. I mean, having your players available pre-game. I mean, no major league or minor league baseball team has that many fans coming in right when the gates open. So yes, it would be hard for players to be at the gate or the coaching staff to be at the gate greeting fans, thanking them for coming to the game, welcoming them into the ballpark. But the one thing that they did do was that after the game, all the players were available for meet and greet, autographs, and photos. Could you have a you could easily apply that to minor league baseball as well. Maybe not the entire team, but maybe a couple players available for meet and greet after the games. Um, that could be the difference on getting fans back, and as well as being you're also going to have certain players that are probably going to be scheduled off for that particular day, so you could easily do they those could be the players that are designated. All right, you're going to get to greet the fans as they come in the ballpark tonight, and then at a certain time before the game, they can come back. They can join the teammates in the clubhouse or in the dugout. Just something that you could do. But I mean, the in between game entertainments wasn't that much different. then go into any other minor league baseball game. Um, yeah, I lost my train of thought there. Sorry. Um, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to going to more games and hopefully getting Mike to go down to a game with me one of these days as well. So that's all that I have this week. Looking forward to getting Mike back next week as when we're back to our normal split screen two people show. So as always, we always end the show by telling you where all you can find our content. So if you are watching us here on Facebook Live and you want to take us on the road or listening just to the audio version of the show, you can find us in a podcast form on all the major platforms: Google, Apple, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, just to name a few. If you're listening to us out in podcast land and you want to see the video feed of our episodes, you can find those on YouTube as well as on Facebook. And our poll questions, as always, are on Fans of Balls and Sticks and the Balls and Sticks page through the Facebook. And even though the NFL season has started with the Lions and the Chiefs kicking off yesterday on Thursday night, there's still time to join our NFL Pick'em challenge. The the link for that is in our show description here on the Facebook site, and I'm sure Michael also put it on the YouTube and um, podcast links as well. And the NASCAR playoffs, we're only one race in. If you're listening to this show before Sunday's race, there's still time to join that as well, our fantasy NASCAR competition. And you can compete along with myself, Mikey, and Solomon in that. Still time to join. So thank you everybody for joining us this week. Make sure to tune in next week, probably on either Friday or Saturday, and wherever you're listening to us, whether on Facebook, YouTube, or in podcast land, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. So thanks for tuning in today, and we'll talk at you next week.